Hey everyone, welcome to part 13 of this Dark Urge Tactician mode guide for Baldur's Gate 3. By the end of this video, we will have wrapped up the rest of Act 1 and moved into Act 2, so this is a very pivotal point in the game for us. But we have a few loose ends to tie up, so let's start by running around and talk to Stonemason Kith.
Just a theory. How peculiar. Smooth face, cobbled edges. They're a sign. They must be. What luck! Look here, Hoon. I seek fresh eyes. Care to lend yours to a weary mason?
Fine, what should I be looking at?
The rock, the rubble, all of it, if I may be so bold. Take a look. Tell me what you see. And be thorough.
We now have 3 skill checks to do, a history, investigation, and perception. If we pass all 3 of them, then we will get an item from him, otherwise we'd have to buy it from him. So let's start off with the first one, history, rolling a 10 and keep going.
The statue's meandering curves and golden edges stand out against the weathered masonry behind it. 2 styles, 2 eras. The statue was carved from newer stone and erected by latecomers to this ancient fortress.
Anything standing out?
Next we'll do investigation. This also has a skill check of 10 for us. You can always save throughout this just in case something goes wrong. You don't want to waste inspiration points. You can just reload.
Boulders and stone bricks of various sizes clutter the corridor. Many split cleanly in 2. Yet some walls remain fully intact. No quake brought these rocks down. They were smashed through in an instant. Something big charged through here. Something very big.
What do you think?
I think we still have to pass another skill check, this one for perception, as we survey the area for unseen curiosities. We get a skill check of 10 on this one. Let's roll it and finish up.
Several glassy stones stand out in the debris. Their borders are coated with tiny yellow crystals. The hottest of flames smoothed the stone and left sulfuric crystals behind. The fires of the hells have touched Grymforge.
Now that we've completed all of that, we'll say, I'm ready to report my observations.
Incredible. An entire history risen from dirt and debris. Picture it. An ancient city, hewn from the stone by disciples of Shah, later abandoned. Untold centuries later, a new tribe revives it. Fresh walls, fresh sculptures, until a great hell beast charges through, toppling the walls and crushing the people. That explains the infernal plate I found. Perhaps you might have use of it. But my work has only begun. There is more still to find. I must get to it.
I would like to trade.
Well, let's see what you've got.
So he's got a couple interesting things like the elixir of hill giant strength that really comes in handy. He also has the elixir of viciousness, so that the number that we need to roll to get a critical hit is reduced by 1, and that does stack with some other equipment that we can get. He's got some other good things like potion of speed. You can grab any of those things that you want to, as well as like thieves tools and trap disarm toolkits. We'll grab all that stuff. He's also got some things like a pickaxe and some other tools that we can use with Karlach to throw them at enemies, and a camp supply pack. So what we want to do is just kind of go through and then find all the stuff that we don't need. We've got a lot of common items at this point that we can just get rid of, so I'll just kind of skip ahead until we can get rid of all of those things, making a pretty even trade for him, and then we'll be all done with the trading. Now, one thing that I didn't show in the last video that I probably should have, so I'll do it right now, is that you want to make sure that you're picking up the weapons after you use them with Karlach, after you've been throwing them. So I'm going to travel back to the ancient forge, and then we're going to go down to where we fought those magma mephits at the bottom part here. We're going to just search the whole area and collect everything, as well as loot all of these magma mephits to get the valuables off of them. So make sure that after every fight, you're always cleaning up after yourself because you don't want to run out of things for Karlach to throw. So once you're all totally resupplied, then you'll want to head up the stairs and keep going all the way to the south. We're going to get into this very large room here, and there's going to be some people that you may recognize, like Barkus Root. He's being forced to work for the Dwagar down here. Well, we're going to climb up this iron ladder to get to the top, and then we're going to have a nice vantage point on a lot of the enemies around here. So I'm just going to kind of hide my team over in the side here, and we're going to do the whole fight as much as we can up in the top part here. So I'm just kind of staging myself to get ready, just moving some people around a little bit, getting them out of the line of sight of a lot of the enemy. But I don't want to use this party exactly because I do want to bring in Gale. He can be very powerful. So let's head back to camp, and then we're going to find Gale, and we're going to bring him into the party, and I'm going to kick Lae'zel out of the party. I don't really need her for this next fight, even though she's very powerful in her own way. I really want to be able to hit enemies from a distance because we're going to stay up top, and hopefully we don't have a lot of enemies coming up toward us, but if we do, then we also have ways of taking care of them. Okay, we're getting the whole party assembled up here, and I am going to start off this fight using Astarion, so I will move over to him, and then definitely make sure that you save the game before this, because it is a very long and somewhat difficult battle. It can go wrong pretty quickly if you're not careful, but hopefully following this method, you should be alright. So we're going to start by coming right behind Drar. He's standing watch up here, and we're going to hide behind him and then use our sneak attack melee to start the fight. And with that assassin subclass, we're able to get refunded on our normal actions after we initiate fight like this. So we're just going to attack from here. And now we're able to use another sneak attack melee to continue damaging him. Now you'll notice that the guards around here are marked as temporarily hostile, and that's very important in case things aren't going so well for you. You can definitely run away from the fight, get away from here, and then if you travel far away, like go over to the Rosimorn Monastery, and then you come back here, then the guards will no longer be hostile to you. So as long as they're just temporarily hostile, you can always escape and then come back, and that is a good way to heal up in the middle of this fight if you really have to. But you can also get through this by doing it in just one sitting here. So what we're looking at now is a lot of enemies who can use special skills like turning themselves invisible. They can enlarge or reduce their size. It's very interesting how they fight. It's very different from what we've seen before. Using Karlach, we're going to definitely frenzy on our first turn, and when we have a good vantage point, we can start throwing things down at them, and we're up high, so we've got gravity on our side as we toss things down. So let's start whipping some old weapons over here at the enemies. I'm going to attack Sergeant Thrinn just because she is kind of a pain for us. We definitely want to get rid of her before she can get close to us and do a lot of damage. So just throwing things down at her, we'll be able to hit her pretty well, and then we do want to move away from the edge for a few reasons. Number one, you want to try to break line of sight as best as possible, but number two, the enemy will try to dash up and will shove you off the ledge, and sometimes they'll knock you down by the other enemies, which is very dangerous, or they will try to knock you off the cliff behind us over toward the west. So what we want to do now is just try to keep the enemy isolated down below. They will sometimes run up, but then we really want to eliminate those enemies as quickly as possible so that they can't attack us in melee range where they're the most dangerous. Speaking of things that are dangerous, here's Gale with his magic missile build. I'm just going to have to use a level 1 magic missile, and it will be more than enough to finish off Sergeant Thrinn. Now, there are some options where you could focus on concentrating a spell, like using Bless or having Haste. I wouldn't really recommend it, though, for this fight, because these enemies love to throw things up here, and they will be able to probably knock you out of concentration very easily. So I'm just going to stick to those very basic magic missiles, and they will serve me very well throughout this fight. Well, here's Thud coming up. He's going to get some good attacks in on Astarion, but that's about all he's going to be able to do up here. He's still looking for where the Dark Urge is, believing he's over on the right, but turns out I'm not there, I'm over on the left side, so kind of wasting that opportunity. So if the enemies are trying to use things like enlarge or reduce, I wouldn't recommend wasting a counter spell on that. There are a lot bigger things and more important things that you can block with a counter spell, so just save that for a little bit later on. Now the enemies will start to dash over toward us. It's not a surprise that they want to get up close to us, but it will be a surprise when they die the next turn whenever they run up here. So they're going to try to get close to us, and we're just going to take that as an opportunity to finish them off before we attack their other friends who will be running toward us as well. The scrying eye down below is going to be kind of annoying. It doesn't fight or anything, however it is very difficult to damage. I'll show you in a little bit how that looks. Astarian's got his singing sword going on, so we can do lots of extra damage when we attack. I'll just use a pommel strike and do 15 damage to Thud. That's a lot more than what it would normally do without having that shriek going on. Now I'm going to have the Dark Urge use his sneak attack range to fire against Thud. We do hit him with some massive critical hits there and take him down to just 30 health remaining, and then I can follow that up by using just a normal offhand ranged attack. Enemies that are invisible will tend to stay invisible until they get close enough to you where they will launch an attack and break their invisibility. This one got a little damage off on Astarian, but nothing that I really have to worry about just yet. So now with Karlach, we're going to move a little bit away from the enemies just so that we don't have that close range disadvantage. And then I'm going to throw something over at Thud here, and you'll see he's got 30 health and now he's got 0 health. So we took him out with just that one attack. But lucky for us, Karlach has 2 more attacks, so I'm going to have her throw another Githyanki sword over at Mindmaster Dunnel, and he goes from 49 health to 0 thanks to some really awesome critical hits. So you can see just the power of that Throw Zerker build with Karlach. She can obliterate enemies, and she's got multiple throws every single turn. So let's throw another weapon down here. There's a couple enemies that we can look at. There's either Dalthar down here or another enemy a little bit up closer here. This is Corsair Greymon. He's a little bit closer, so I'm just going to hit him with that, and it's going to do quite a bit of damage to him as well. And then I'm just going to have her retreat a little bit just so that she's not right on the edge. So now the other enemies who are invisible, they'll move around a little bit, but they're not going to be too much of a problem. Now it's Gale's turn. I still have Corsair Greymon up close, so I'll just kind of aim a magic missile over toward him. I do want to upcast this one a little bit, just so I can do some more damage against him. Let's use a level 3 magic missile. I'll lock in all of those magic darts, and he goes from 58 health all the way down to 28. So we did 30 damage just with that one magic missile. Corsair Greymon loves to throw stuff up at us, and he's going to hit Gale a couple times. You can see that if I was concentrating on a spell, I would have been knocked out of it at that point, so it just isn't really worth it to me to have concentration spells in this fight because they're going to be knocking you out of it in no time anyway. Okay, so Elder Brithvar, he's going to start running around, and also Mindmaster Funmara will start to run over, but she doesn't run up, she just kind of runs around the place, and that's fine with me. She doesn't have a line of sight or anything. Okay, that's going to wrap up that turn, and now it's going to be back to Astarian to continue the fight. But we have one enemy who's really close to us, Corsair Greymon. We want to take him out as quickly as possible, so we're going to just use a normal main hand attack against him and try to do as much damage as possible. So we did about 10 damage with that, and then I can just move it on over to the Dark Urge. And in an ideal world, I would have picked up the kill right here because the sneak attack should have hit him, but I did roll a critical miss on that one. So although plan A didn't work out of killing him, I can use plan B, which is just to do some damage with that ranged attack and my offhand weapon. And that's really the main point of this fight, is just to keep up on the high ground and attack the enemy when they get close to you. Definitely make sure that you're using Karlach with her new Throw Zerker build just to do incredible amounts of damage against the enemy, and you shouldn't have much of a problem either, especially if you've got Gale to follow that up with his awesome magic missile build. You'll just do tons of damage to the enemy, taking them out one after another, and although there's many of them, it is kind of a spread out lengthy fight instead of just being totally crushed and overwhelmed at the beginning. So it is good to keep everything spread out like this, and we're able to get through this fight fairly simply. So I'll let this one play out for the most part. I'll jump in a little bit later on if I have something interesting to say, but otherwise I'll see you toward the end of this fight.
Blood comes easy these days.
Good idea. I'm coming for you. Hope your soul is in good hands. I got this. Go on.
The lance board is set.
Smell blood. Cry about it.
Alright, the last enemy that we have to eliminate is the Scrying Eye over here. It's very difficult to damage, and the only way that I really found it way to damage it reliably is to use sneak attack ranged on it when we had the advantage up high where it can't see us. So what I'm going to do is just to kind of hide out, looking around where it can see, and then just going kind of right outside of that area, and then we're able to go into our hiding. The best way to do that with your rogues is to use cunning action hide so you're not wasting your normal action. So the Scrying Eye is not moving, it's not attacking or anything like that. So using Astarion, I'm going to go ahead and use Cunning Action Hide, and then select to use my Sneak Attack ranged. We can walk forward a little bit and then hit it. It's going to do a little bit of damage to it, just a couple of hit points, but it only has 11 to begin with, so it won't take too long. It's really just a matter of time before we can eliminate this one. It's not an if we can do it, it's a how quickly are we able to do this. So we're just moving up a little bit more, going to use another sneak attack range, this time with the Dark Urge, and I'm going to hit him while hiding, and this time it does a critical hit for 8 damage, so I only have 1 hit point left on this thing. A little bit annoying, but that's alright too. While the rogues are fighting, I'm just going to send Karlach around to start looting things in the area. Make sure that you're picking up all of the items that you've been throwing around and looting the bodies as well. I thought I'd see if it would take a little bit of damage from Gale, so I tried to use a Ray of Frost just to stay away from using a spell slot, but Ray of Frost didn't do anything. I think it's like either thunder or lightning damage that it is a little bit weak to, but I don't really have anything good at my disposal that I want to use for that, so I'm just going to let my rogues handle that. Between Astarion and the Dark Urge, I'm definitely capable of eliminating the enemy. It just takes a little while. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up, and then what we're going to do is go around and we're going to loot everything in this area. There's a lot of bodies that we just defeated, so we're going to loot them. We're also going to pick up all the weapons off the ground too. So I'm going to skip ahead while we do all of that. Just know that there are quite a few good things in this area that you will want to pick up from all of the higher level enemies like Corsair Grayman and Sergeant Thrinn. Everyone in here probably has something good that you want to grab. So make sure that you're grabbing everything, and then we're going to continue on from here. Okay, with the looting all over, now what we want to do is go talk to Barkus Root, who's over by the big rock pile in this area. So let's run over toward the southwest corner where the big rock is, and you can see the people mining around here. There's Lunkbug and Barkus Root. We'll talk to him. I will skip through most of the dialogue because it doesn't really matter, but I'll show you what choices I make along the way. So for the first one, I'm going to say, you were on a quest, weren't you? Making progress?
I thought I was.
For the next dialogue option, I'm going to say either the Dweger are dead, you need to run, or if you're a rogue, you can say hiding in plain sight, a cunning strategy.
I thought they'd be easy to outwit. Unfortunately.
For our next choice, I'm going to say the first option sounds like you need my help again.
Help would be welcome.
And now I'll say the first option, that sounds like a challenge. I'll take care of your captors and I'll get you out of here.
You will. If you are successful, that would be most convenient.
So how do you clear away the rock? Well, there's a couple different options. If you have explosives, you can certainly put those on the ground right in front of it and then hit it with some kind of fire attack and make it explode. If you don't have any of that available to you, I want to show you the other way that I found that's fairly simple. It just is a little bit more time consuming, and that is to throw items into the rock. So every time I throw an item here, it's going to do 4 damage to it. The rock pile has 44 HP, so unfortunately it will take about 11 throws in order to break through it. So it does take quite a bit of time, but it is very reliable and doesn't require extra resources. What's even nicer is that if you're getting low on things to throw, then just throw a couple and then go and pick them up off the ground. They should be available to you. So I'm just going to go and grab my light hammers and the other things that I've already thrown around here, and then I can just start throwing them once again. So I'm just going to skip ahead now to the very end of the sequence where I bust through the cave-in. When that happens, Nere will come out, and you'll get a bit of a cutscene that we have some dialogue options to go through.
Finally! Baldur, can you hear me? Baldur!
Finally. Worthless slaves. Your incompetence has been my ruin. Nere does not fail.
Stop. No more innocents will die today, Nere.
So you care for the weak, true soul? Was it your hand that slayed Nere's servants, or is there a sane explanation?
The slaves turned on each other, mutineers versus absolute loyalists. We get a skill check of 10, so let's roll that and then keep on going.
Tensions were high. I am hardly surprised. The novices were lost without me to guide them. As for these vermin, they've outlived their usefulness. You've a chance yet to prove your faith. Kill the slaves, and let Nere see them suffer.
Wisdom. Plant a thought in Nere's mind. The gnomes must be set free. This is a skill check of 15, so it's a little bit more difficult, and we definitely want to succeed here. So go ahead and make a quick save, and then we're going to keep going.
Yes, it will be so. Gnomes, you are slaves no longer. The Absolute may have use for you yet. As for you, our charge is clear. There is more we must do. This was meant to be a simple operation. I arrive, those pack animals clear the debris, and I walk into the temple. Instead, I've been beset by incompetence, treachery, and now this? The Absolute's business remains unfinished.
And what business is that exactly?
Important business. My orders come from General Thorn himself. I need you to deliver a message to him. Tell the General that I did what I could, but that the route through Grymforge is impassable.
I'll do it. Where can I find the general?
The General resides at Moonrise Towers, but you cannot simply travel there. The land surrounding the towers is blighted by a deadly curse.
If that's the case, how do I reach it safely?
I had a moon lantern to keep the curse at bay. Alas, the rocks did it in. There is another way, though. We have allies on the surface. Seek them out, and play this lyre to call on their guide. Whatever you do, do not attempt the journey to Moonrise without his protection. I promise you it will not end well.
Alright, I'll tell the general what happened here.
Do not tarry. I will see you again, but only when my work is done. I can still reach the temple and fulfill the General's orders. His advisor, Balthazar, also sought away. I'll pick up his trail and follow him. Prove myself his superior. I am generous to those who aid him. When I return to Moonrise, I will be triumphant, and you will share in my victory.
For completing this little quest, we do get a couple items. The first being the Spider's Lyre. We can use that to traverse part of Act 2, as well as Gift from the Absolute, which effectively works the same way as a Mind Flayer Parasite specimen, allowing us to level up our Lithid powers once more. So now Nere is going to be walking around this area, and we're going to want to get behind him because we want to be able to start off by using a sneak attack ranged against him. So just make sure that you're lined up and then go ahead and hit him. We'll begin the fight. He's not going to be very happy with us. We'll choose to just continue attacking him, and then we're going to have enough firepower to take him out on this very first turn. He should not ever be allowed to use any sort of attacks against you. You should definitely be well prepared to take him out on the very first turn of combat. He's got only 101 health on Tactician mode, and we can do a lot more damage than that as our team. So let's go through that really quick, and then we'll be done with Nere's section.
Wizard, not a cat burglar. Can't even catch my breath.
Alright, and with that, Nere is dead. We all have enough experience to level up. I'll be doing that in a few minutes. I don't need to do it right now. But let's go and loot Nere's body.
The decaying corpse lies before you.
Strength. Remove its head. This will give us a skill check of 10, so let's go ahead and roll that and then keep going.
The head breaks off cleanly from the Drow's body.
Defeating Nere like this will give us a new inspiration point called Haunted One, Head of the Snake, and we get a lot of good items from him as well. So let's start by taking a look at those. First off, we're going to have the Disintegrating Nightwalkers. They're a pair of boots that are very powerful because they basically allow us to move unimpeded through a lot of stuff. So they can't be enwebbed, they can't be tangled or ensnared, we can't slip on grease or ice, and we're able to use Misty Step. That's very nice. Now let's grab the other items around here. I would not recommend grabbing the Broken Moon Lantern. You don't want it because then there's just a cutscene that you have to watch that really doesn't do anything for us. The choices don't mean a whole lot. So grab everything, including the Mind Flayer Parasite specimen, and then we're good to go, leaving that Broken Moon Lantern behind. So in this area, Barkus Root has some friends that we want to talk to. There's Baldur. He's over on the right side of Barkus. He's wearing some red and walking around over here. So once you've been able to locate him, then you just want to go and talk to him. This is quite a long conversation, so I'm going to skip through most of it, but I still will show you my dialogue options as we go along. First up, thank Thula. She's the one who set me on your trail.
Glittering gods, I should have known that one was too damn stubborn to die.
Make it.
You're a little... We were just...
What has he gotten himself mixed up in now?
Persuasion. This is no time to be coy. What is it that Wilburn knows? This does have a skill check of 10 associated with it, so let's roll that and keep the conversation going. The next dialogue option is pretty straightforward. We're just going to say number 1, then we'll just have to free him first. And finally, we're going to say, if my path takes me to Moonrise, I'll see about freeing Wilburn myself.
He'd admire your... My people will... If you...
And that quest is now complete to save the Grymforge Gnomes. Now we just have to get out of here. I'm going to do some fast traveling over to the Underdark Myconid colony, and that will bring us right to the Ebon Lake Grotto where we need to be, because we promised Sovereign Spa that we would deliver the head of Nere to him, and we're going to see exactly what he's going to do with that. Now that we're at the top, let's go talk to Sovereign Spa. I've brought you Nere's head.
The Drow sought to shatter our circle. Now his flesh may feed its growth. In dealing death, you have brought this circle life, and thus we name you Life Chanter. As our circle grows, so shall your song. Wherever you go, only listen, and you may hear it.
We completed the quest called Deliver Nere's Head, and we get a new piece of equipment for that called the Envoy's Amulet, giving us the Voice of the Circle class action. Now, you'll notice that all the Myconids are having a shroom-fueled rave, and you might want to just leave at this point, but don't do it because there's something that we want to pick up, and it's actually going to be on the southwest corner of this area. It's called the Blooming Drow Head. That's right, Sovereign Spa took the head of Nere, put some spores inside of it, and now it's turning into some sort of plant, and we will use that to unlock a special area in Act 2. So make sure you grab that, and now we're going to do a little fast traveling out of this area. We want to go over kind of by the Rosymorn Monastery Trail, anywhere outside of this area, and then we're going to do some fast traveling back into the Underdark. All that does is it allows us to get a special scene with Voss. So we're automatically put into our campsite as we're fast traveling back and forth. And then all we have to do is decide to go to bed, and that will kick off that scene. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but the gist of it is that Voss has come to us wanting our help in order to overthrow Vlaakith. Lae'zel isn't so sure about it all, but we're going to convince her to trust Voss. So once again, I'm going to skip through it, but focus on just the dialogue options here. So he's going to offer us his sword as a way to show that he doesn't mean us any harm. We're going to nod to Lae'zel because she should take the lead.
My ear is yours.
The next dialogue option that we want to choose is, what are you asking of us, Voss?
I'm asking for your help and your trust.
Next we're going to say, Vlaakith's led you astray. I believe him, and so should you. After that scene, we're going to be back in our camp with the psionic detector so that we know if we're about to be ambushed by a Githyanki patrol. We'll choose to go to bed, and that will cause us to rest, so I'm just going to skip that really quick, and then we're going to be back in our camp during the daytime. So what I want to do now is choose to get out of here. We'll leave the camp, and that will put us back into the Selûnite outpost. That's where I chose to fast travel before. Now we're going to go back to where we were earlier, to the Trialtic Crags waypoint. That will take us back to the Rosymorn Monastery Trail, and we're going to go from here over toward the northwest so that we can travel through the mountain pass and get into Act 2. So let's start by running up the path toward the northwest. We're going to go past all of these bodies of the enemies that we defeated, and then turn left at the intersection and run around the trail. And we're going to stick toward the left side when we get down to the end of the path. As we go forward, there's going to be a broken bridge, and right when you get across it, you'll see a man standing in the back there. That's Elminster. He wants to talk to Gale, but I do not want Gale to talk to him now. So instead, I'm going to talk to Gale, and I'm going to tell him that he needs to remain at camp for a while rather than on the road with me. He won't be happy, but I'll say perhaps we'll travel together again, and then he will disappear. Now I can run through here. Elminster will still approach me, and he's going to want to know if I know Gale, but I'll say, Gale, you say? Never heard of him. He doesn't really believe me, but we're going to continue on from here. He will automatically join our camp a little bit later on, and we'll have a scene with him, but at least we don't have to forcibly go through it right now. Okay, we're going to go into the Shadow Curse lands when we get to the end of the path. We get a warning saying that we have to tie up any loose ends before continuing, because we will leave behind Act 1 and move into Act 2 with a new cutscene to set the atmosphere.
Can you feel that? The dark, it's hungry. Best watch the shadows.
Are you the true soul?
Who wants to know?
I'll take that as a yes. Listen up. Grab a torch, stay out of the dark, and move fast. The shadows have eyes. Go on.
So this is the beginning of Act 2. We don't need to move forward really from this area. The light next to us will protect us while we go back to camp, and then we go and collect Gale and put him back on the team. I'm going to skip all the dialogue stuff because it doesn't matter. He's now on the team, and we're going to go ahead and leave the camp once again to return to the ruined battlefield. And it's at this time that I want to quickly go through and level everyone up. So everyone has now reached level 7, and I'm going to show you exactly what selections you'll want to make here. So the Dark Urge is a level 5 rogue, and now he's going to be a level 2 monk, which is growing a little bit into the monk space right now, but there's no decisions to make with him. Next up is Astarion. He is a level 5 rogue and now a level 2 ranger, and with this we get to choose some spells. I'm going to choose Ensnaring Strike Range. It's also Ensnaring Strike Melee, it just doesn't say that, as well as Hunter's Mark so that we can get some more damage out on the enemies. We get a new fighting style as well. Let's choose Archery because we want that +2 bonus to our ranged weapon attacks. Once we've got that locked in, we're going to go over to our third party member, and that's going to be Karlach. It says that she's a level 6 barbarian, but that's not true. We're going to keep her as a level 5 barbarian, and she will also now be a level 2 rogue. We're going to get all of our cunning actions here, but there's nothing else to choose from at this point. And finally, we're going to go over to Gale. He's going to be a level 7 wizard. We're going to keep him on that wizard track right now, but we're going to choose a few new spells for him. Number 1, grab Wall of Fire. It just does a ton of damage to enemies, as well as Confusion for a little bit of crowd control. So once you have selected those two, Wall of Fire as well as Confusion, then you should be good to go, and we can move on to the prepared spells side. And we're going to remove Glyph of Warding as well as Witch Bolt. We don't really need those right now. Instead, we're going to plug in Wall of Fire and Confusion, and we'll be all set with him. So let's close that down. And that's going to do it for part 13. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below, and share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that already. That way you can stay up to date with the rest of the series. In part 14, we're going to continue on through Act 2. We'll make some really good progress, and I'll show you something that I didn't show you in my previous walkthrough, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you soon for part 14. Until then, thanks for watching, and have a good day.